Hey guys, it's Bub here. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the development history of Microsoft Windows 10. Today, we'll be taking a look at 4 major versions of the Windows Technical Preview, starting off with build 9841, which was released on October 1st, 2014. Then we'll look at build 9926, which was released on January 23rd, 2015. Then we'll take a look at build 10074, which was released on April 30th, 2015. And then we'll take a look at the final build of Windows 10, which was build 10240, released on July 29th, 2015. We start off here. Windows Technical Preview build 9841. This is the first public available build of Microsoft Windows 10. Windows 10 wasn't a set name for it, it was just Windows Technical Preview. Now, because all of the installers are the same throughout, we're just going to be showing you this installer once. Now, the license terms are the pre-release license terms, and this is the same all the way up through the final version of Windows 10. Here we are. This is build 9841's out-of-box experience. Automatically, we notice that it is very similar to Windows 8.1's out-of-box experience. Now, we cannot use internet on these builds, as these do have time bombs, and if it's connected to the internet, the system time resets back to the current time, and Windows won't work properly. Now, as we automatically notice, this looks very similar to Windows 8.1. We've got the 8.1 style taskbar, we've got the desktop icons look pretty the same, and the tray looks pretty much the same. However, the major difference with Windows 10 is the start menu. This is the first public iteration of the new start menu with live tiles on the side and the apps on the other side. We also have a totally new border style compared to Windows 8, which has no real borders. The X button is cornered with a shadow in the background. There are also new icons for this PC, network, and File Explorer from 8.1. Another big change is Metro apps from Windows 8.1 are now windowed with an accent color. We can use this menu right here, go full screen, if we want to have that Windows 8.1 experience. If you have more than one window open and you snap it, it can ask you where you want to snap another window. You can also snap to corners for the first time. In this build, you can go to the Start Menu Properties, disable the Start Menu, apply, and you'll have to sign out. Once we do that, we do have the Windows 8.1 start screen back. Another new thing is the search button right here, which is still being worked on, and I don't think it actually works in this build. Another new thing is the task view, which can show you your different apps that are open, and you can add another desktop for other work. So we can have a workspace here for home, and then workspace here for school. And if an application is open on another desktop, we can see this little icon below. And if we click on it, it does switch us back to our other desktop. Now, we're taking a look at Windows Technical Preview build 9926, which was released on January 23rd, 2015. As we can see, the out-of-box experience is way different than the previous one, and it's not on Windows 8.1 anymore. However, the background is bright white, and it really hurts your eyes. A lot of the elements are still the same, as the word count is the same. However, this is the first time we see the loading bubble on top of the text instead of under it. As we can see, the first thing that is changed is the new default desktop background. The taskbar also looks a lot more like Windows 10 than 8.1. However, we still have an enlarged start button. Speaking of the start button, you cannot go back to the previous start screen in the start menu properties. The title in Windows is no longer centered as it was in the previous build. In the previous build, the File Explorer text would be centered in the middle, however, it is now on the left. Now, the folder icons in File Explorer have been changed. I personally do not like these, however, they did not make it to the final release of Windows. Now, for some reason, this half of my taskbar is missing. However, we do have the notification pane. Later renamed Action Center, it does look very similar, except it is not transparent and it is bright white. We can take a look at the redesigned start menu, which looks a lot like the final build of Windows 10. In the previous build of Windows 10, the Settings app looked a lot like Windows 8.1. However, we get a total overhaul in Settings now. This looks a lot more like the current version of Windows 10. When you open Windows 8.1 Legacy apps, there is now a full screen button instead of accessing the menu over here. Windows 10 apps, also known as UWP apps, are now a thing. For example, the Store Beta is a UWP app. There is now a round profile picture as opposed to the square profile picture on the Start menu. As a replacement for that Start Screen option in Properties, there is now a full screen button in the Start menu. Thankfully, this did not make it to the final version of Windows. If you haven't noticed, we also do get a new window border, which does not look like Windows 8. However, the buttons are moved up and they act like the Windows 8 buttons. The search is no longer a button, it is now a full bar in the taskbar, and Cortana is now a thing. This whole operating system generally gives us a more Windows 10 feel, as the previous build gave us a Windows 8.1 feel. The shutdown and restart text is not as bold as it was in the previous build. I think it looked better in bold. And now here we are. This is build 10074 that was released on April 30th, 2015. As we can see, setup has changed again. Instead of a purple accent color, it's now blue. It also looks more like the final version of Windows 10 with the correct font and the spinning bubble above the text. Now, it tries to get us to do a Microsoft account, however, of course, we don't have internet, so we can make a local account. This looks much more like Windows 10 because the taskbar now looks more like Windows 10, with the search bar going from top to bottom of the taskbar, a smaller start button, the tray actually being there. Notifications is still notifications, and it looks pretty much the same as it did before, except it is now transparent. The first thing to notice in this build is that the title bar is no longer the accent color of the operating system. It is now just plain white or gray. The recycle bin icon is different than it was in the previous build. The previous build, the recycle bin icon was the standard Windows 7, and now there is a new updated one for the new user interface. The start menu looks a lot more like it does in the final version. We still have a full screen button. It is now transparent, it looks much better, and power and all apps are on the bottom. The desktop personalization is now in settings compared to control panel. Previously, Internet Explorer used to be the only internet browser on the operating system. Now, Project Spartan, later to be known as Microsoft Edge, is now a thing. Control-Alt-Delete is now redesigned. It no longer looks like the Windows 8 Control-Alt-Delete. The volume control has its own redesign, which pops out like this. It no longer looks like the Windows 7 speaker controllers. The task view has a new desktop icon. Instead of having a big bar at the bottom, it is now a transparent gradient, or I can click new desktop. And this just looks much better in my opinion. The lock screen looks much more like Windows 10's does. The built-in apps in this operating system are mainly UWP apps and no longer Windows 8.1 apps. And this is the Windows 10 final build 10240, which was released on July 29th, 2015. It obviously looks way better than the last version, already in the out-of-box experience. It's asking us to enter a product key, which we can always click do this later, and let's use some express settings. Now this looks pretty much the same to the previous one, so let's just enter our username here. Now here, as far as I know, this is the first version of Windows 10 to include just a blue background. In previous editions, when it sets up your apps, it is multiple different colors, like Windows 8.1 was. However, in this version, and in the current version, this background gradient is just blue. And here we are. This is the final edition of Windows 10 that was released on July 29th, 2014. Immediately you notice that there is a new default background. This is the Windows background that was used up until, I believe, 1903. Correct me if I'm wrong. The notifications pane is now renamed to Action Center, as it currently still is. The start menu looks much more professional than it did. It has all the apps pretty much in the same orientation, although the most used in this side is cleaned up and power is down here. There's a new opening animation on applications versus the other one just fading in and out. There is no shadow behind this, or there's not a shadow as big as the previous build. The lock screen has a redesign. It now looks much more like the current version of Windows 10. Project Spartan is now Microsoft Edge. Project Spartan and Edge do look very similar. I don't think they really changed it that much. Of course, there is minor tweaks in the UI and stability that we won't go over, but there is a lot of tweaks for stability. hover over color used to be blue, now it's gray to match the new modern UI. There are also new icons for personalize and display settings in this right-click menu. And the store icon is no longer a square, it is actually a transparent background. It looks much better. And that brings us to today. This is Windows 10 build 19613, the latest build available for the fast ring in the Windows Insider program. Of course, there is a new default background, as you can tell, which I like much better. There's a ton of visual tweaks that I like much better, such as they're no longer being a most used, it is just your app list right here. Obviously, a lot of apps got new icons in the Fluent UI design, and a lot of icons got redesigned and recoded. Settings now has more options from Control Panel. However, Control Panel is still a thing, and I believe Microsoft is looking to phase that out in the future. Anyway, guys, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you like this type of content. I do device restorations, technology videos, informational videos. Anyway, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you all in the next one.